He stood at the threshold of darkness, and something ancient stood back. Every weapon Ashwatthama hurled was swallowed whole. Every invocation he screamed into the night returned to him as silence. The guardian would not move, but how did it come to this? Let us begin. The 18th day of the Kurukshetra war had ended, not with the blare of victory horns, but with the last breath of Duryodhana bleeding in the mud, his thighs shattered by Bhima's mace. The Kaurava cause was finished. The war was over. But for Ashwatthama, the son of Drona, the war had never truly been about politics or kingdoms. It had always been about his father, Drona, the greatest military mind of his age, the guru of both armies, had been killed through deception. A lie had severed the head of a warrior who had never once broken his code, and his son would not rest until that dishonor was answered. So when the final fires of day died, Ashwatthama rose. He gathered 2 surviving Kaurava commanders, Kripacharya and Kritavarma, and moved toward the sleeping Pandava camp like a shadow with a heartbeat. And then he stopped. At the very entrance of the camp, something waited. Not a soldier, not a sentinel, a being of impossible radiance, towering, formless yet present, absorbing every weapon Ashwatthama launched into it as though swallowing stars. He hurled the Agneya Astra, gone. He invoked the Vayavya, dissolved. He reached for the Brahmastra, the most devastating weapon known to man, and it flickered and died. He was powerless, completely, utterly powerless. In that moment of absolute helplessness, something broke open inside Ashwatthama. Not his will, his ego. He gathered wood. He built a small fire. And in a final act, not of violence but of total surrender, he stepped toward the flames and offered himself, his body, his life, his very self, into Rudra. This was not strategy. This was not a warrior's gambit. This was a son's grief transformed into pure, unconditional surrender to the cosmic absolute. And Rudra answered. The Mahabharata tells us plainly, Shiva entered Ashwatthama. The mortal vessel became the instrument of divine will. What walked into that sleeping camp was no longer merely a grieving son seeking vengeance. It was something older, something absolute. The destroyer of cycles, wearing the skin of a man. One by one, the slaughter unfolded. Drishtadyumna, who had killed Drona. Shikhandi, the Pandavas, the 5 sons of the Pandavas themselves. Each death, not random. Each name carrying a karmic weight accumulated across lifetimes. Not merely one war. And here is where we must pause. Because the question burns. How could a god of justice permit this? How could Mahadev empower a massacre of sleeping men? Because Shiva does not only hold the lotus of creation or the drum of rhythm, he holds the trishul of endings. And some endings cannot be delayed. The age of the Kauravas, its warriors, its enmities, its karmic accounts, had to close completely. The Pandavas carried the seeds of a new conflict. The karmic ledger of Drishtadyumna was unpaid. Shiva did not act against justice that night. He completed it, in the only hour that cosmic law permitted its completion. And when morning came, the divine fire left Ashwatthama as suddenly as it had arrived. What remained was a cursed, wandering man, bearing a wound on his forehead that would never heal, exiled from death itself, carrying the weight of what he had been used to accomplish. And what does this paradox teach us? It teaches us that the moments when every weapon we possess fails, when every plan dissolves, when we are stripped of every strategy and every pride, those are not the moments of our defeat. Those are the moments we are being prepared. Ashwatthama's surrender to Rudra was not weakness. It was the only act powerful enough to move the cosmos. In your own life too, there are doors that will not open to force, to cleverness, or to desperation. They open only to surrender, to trust, to offering yourself completely to something beyond your own understanding. Mahadev did not spare Ashwatthama out of indifference. He chose him. Because in that warrior's total surrender, the divine found a vessel worthy of the task that cosmic order demanded. So I ask you, have you ever been brought to your knees, stripped of every weapon, every plan, every certainty? And in that moment of total surrender, did something larger than you step in? Tell me your story in the comments. I would genuinely love to read it. If this story moved something in you, subscribe to this channel and hit the bell. Every week, we go this deep into the stories that have shaped the soul of a civilization. The next one is already waiting for